to the insurance panel.
What was that?
Yeah, with us today, obviously, yes, is Nick and JD. JD actually did a 4-part video. Am I right, Nick?
I think it's 4 parts, yeah.
It's a 4-part video that we broke down with JD, and it is awesome. It's amazing. For those that don't know who JD is, been in the business quite some time. Most agents these days, even myself, think that they're a veteran if they've been in the business for 5 years, right? But JD's got socks older than that. You know what I mean? He's been doing this for what now, JD? 20 years?
No, this is the 17th year.
Well, that's close enough. We're going to round up on that one. That's 20 years in my book. That's a long time. I'm seeing you're seeing a lot of changes over the years. You know, and Nick was actually telling me the other day where you started in the insurance business. And I don't know if we talked about that last time that you were on the show. I think it's interesting. Nick, you sound really far away.
I sound really far away?
Oh, you're better now.
Better? Okay.
Yep,
cool.
Sound perfect now.
All right.
So, JD, I just got to ask you, because I know you're a field guy. How did Corona affect you? Did you still go out, or?
Yeah, there was maybe, I guess, 6 weeks I couldn't go. From March 19th, I remember the day that I quit going out. March 19th last year until probably the last week of May that I didn't go out. But other than that, it was pretty much business as normal.
Awesome. Yeah, I just didn't know how it was.
All of April, most of May. So mostly 2 months, I guess. I didn't go out.
Sure. And
my miles driven last year were down about 7,000, and normally 3,000 a month. So
yeah. Did you take a break entirely, or did you try any telesales?
I did. I probably did a little over 10,000 in April by phone and mail, and then the same in May. But although since I went out in May, near the end of May, I probably did about 15,000 last May, but 10,000 of it, either by phone and mail, but not actually prospecting and calling leads. I didn't call even one lead.
Wow.
That I hadn't met before.
Mm-hmm.
And tried to do the whole thing by phone. I didn't even do that once. But people calling in, you're working my book and whatever, and adding coverage. We had a lot of people last year that wanted to add coverage. I guess it's a bad thing, but COVID really helped my business last year.
Yeah.
That's what a friend of mine in Iowa had said something about being the number one agent with KSKJ. He said, man, especially in a COVID year. So kind of COVID was why. They, like I said, people wanting to add coverage, that's just the nature of our business. When tragedies and things happen,
mm-hmm.
It makes people think about dying.
Exactly.
And or people in their family dying, and they realized that what the funeral cost was more than they had coverage for. And so, I haven't had one person, we're a year in now to COVID. I think a year ago tomorrow is when Kentucky shut down. I think a couple of days ago, the nation, but and the reason I remember my wife's birthday is tomorrow.
Hey, it's my birthday tomorrow too. Happy birthday to her.
Yeah, and but we're always at the SEC tournament during her birthday, And of course, last year, well, if your birthday's the 13th, last year was on Friday the 13th.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And when the SEC tournament got canceled, we went to eat at one of our favorite places, a winery not too far from us, with a couple of friends. And we didn't know at that time, but that was the last time you were able to make a reservation and go eat with friends.
Yep.
But I haven't had one person in this year refuse to meet with me, either by phone or at the door, or even one person say they're not going to buy because of COVID. I haven't had it used as an excuse, not even once. Now, I do think there's probably some people who didn't, but they didn't say that. They didn't come out and say, hey, I'd love to do this. Get back to me after COVID.
Back to me after COVID, like it's a C, yeah.
And I really thought that it would be an excuse. Travis and I have talked about that a dozen times. He says the same thing. No one's used it with him either. That we really thought it would come up just from your normal excuse people, because it's a built-in excuse.
Right. It's a free rebuttal. Yeah, exactly.
I'd love to meet with you, but nobody uses that. Now, I'm not saying I didn't get excuses. I still got excuses. I got people who didn't buy it, but they use the same excuses they've been using for 17 years. There's nothing new about the COVID other than the only thing COVID helped was it helped as far as people were focused on buying life insurance. And so and I only had a couple of cases where the people had tested positive.
I haven't had anybody who's tested positive that wants to buy life insurance afterwards yet. I haven't run into anybody.
I've only had a couple of those.
Yeah. I've had two people who, one person who canceled a meeting with me because they tested positive. And they said, hey, I'm supposed to be quarantined now. And they tested positive like that morning. And then one person who I went to on a door knock, who I knocked on their door, and they were like, hey, no, we're quarantining. We're not letting anybody in.
I've had a couple of people who wouldn't let me in. And I felt like it was COVID related.
Yeah.
They didn't say that. They kind of standoffish at the door. They stood like a foot behind their door. We don't want to talk to anyone. And so you kind of feel like that was COVID. But while we're talking about it, I did remember a guy door knocked. And I didn't think anyone was home. His guy's been trying to call. And I was had a dog on the front porch, chained. He was chained. He couldn't get off the front porch. But I wasn't going to go on the front porch to leave a note or anything. So I was going to leave a note on the windshield of his car. And he came out the door then and said, hey, what do you need? And I, of course, showing him from a distance, I've been trying to get hold of you for this. And he said, well, I just got tested this morning. So it's probably not. I said, you're right. It's not a good time. And he said, I said, you think you were positive? He said, no. He said, but there was somebody at my work positive. So they all had to get tested.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll give you a call. Never heard from him again. So
I went to one lady's house and I sold this lady. She had an appointment. I went. And I sat with her. She's like, we're going to have to meet out on the front porch. It was a nice day. I was like, that's not a problem. And the whole time inside, there was all sorts of commotion going on. And like people were kind of running around and rustling. She's like, oh, don't pay them. Don't mind them. They're dealing with some stuff. And so we get done and she does the phone interview and she wraps everything up. And at about that time, a car pulls up real fast and stops. And two 16-year-old kids bundled in like blankets and like wearing masks and stuff get rushed from the house and into the car. And And the lady looks at me and she says, "Oh, don't mind them. That little blonde one that just ran out into the car, she was just diagnosed with COVID this morning."
Well, it's not funny, but it did.
Right. And I was like, "Oh, well, great. So thanks for," and she's like, "That's why I couldn't let you inside, because, I had COVID already, but we're worried about them." And I was like, so that's the story of how I got my first rapid result COVID test.
So Nick, I'm going to do my worst transition of all time. I've been thinking about how to do this.
Oh, goodness.
JD, you've been a veteran agent, and I've seen because of COVID, I've seen a lot of transitions from underwriting from the carriers. They ask questions about COVID, and sometimes you need to, maybe fully underwrite a case versus just using a simplified issue like a final expense policy is. So I want to talk to JD, because I know you've done a lot of experience on when to underwrite a case like fully underwritten versus just a simplified issue.
Well, I hadn't noticed any difference because of COVID, other than the questionnaires.
Yeah.
And I did just have a recent one on a friend that I wrote him preferred, a large case. And I wrote him preferred. And this guy's runs 20 miles a week and training for a half marathon in April. And so I wrote him preferred. And because he had the exam and everything, and it came back as the only thing they had a problem with on his exam, the examiner said something about his pulse was 45. And because he had to have EKG and everything, because this was a $600,000. And he told her, said, "Yeah, when you're a runner, you have a low,
right,
and
low resting heart rate."
But anyway, they approved him, but they approved him standard
because of his low resting heart rate.
No,
the
standard is and I got with him about, and he was going to accept standard. He was fine with standard because what was replacing a policy that was expiring. He had to do something anyway. But I think he would have, because it was me as the agent, he was going to take it. But he might have kept shopping though, and
right.
And I'm telling the company, I said, "Look, this guy, he can't get preferred. Nobody can get preferred." And and they said, they said, "Well, barring surprises." And I said, "Well, if it's a surprise, it's a surprise to him and me."
Right.
And it's my judge friend, Nick. So,
okay, yeah, sure.
I see him all the time. So if there was a surprise, I would have definitely known about it. And so they said, well, the reinsurer is not approving anyone preferred because of COVID.
So literally nobody can get preferred.
So he wanted to add another 100,000 to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, well, he's going to accept the standard and he wants to make it 100,000 more. I said, well, we got to send that back to the reinsurer. I said, just increasing? They said, yeah, at that much. Well, when they sent that back to the reinsurer, and they had told them everything I said, that, this guy is excellent health. Well, when they came back with the 100,000, they said, well, not only did the reinsurer improve the 100,000, but we're going to issue it preferred.
Nice.
So he got preferred. But that was the only situation I've had where they told me that and then of course the head underwriter I was talking to last week on the phone or something, and she said, I can't believe they did that preferred, because they've told us they're not going to do anyone preferred.
I've never heard of a reinsurer reversing their decision like that before. That's wild.
Well,
like regular underwriters, I hear.
Sometimes I guess there are some underwriting perks.
Yeah.
To being their number one agent,
Yeah. No. Well, yeah.
So, like I said, and especially once he accepted the standard, that they would change it.
Right.
You know, if I'd have said, no, he's not taking that. If you can't issue preferred, you know, we're going elsewhere. And
Right.
we didn't say that, you know, and
right.
so
No,
it worked out. But that's the only situation that I've had someone mention, any company mention to me an underwriting problem about COVID.
Crazy.
So,
I mean,
so in
I've
general,
only go ahead.
for
Go
fully
ahead,
underwritten stuff, like would you recommend that most final expense agents pull fully underwritten policies out of the bag to be able to like use it as a price buster or something like that? Is that?
Oh, I thought you meant pull it out and not use it.
Well, no, I meant like should they be keeping like a good fully underwritten company in their back pocket for situations where things are weird, or like, you know, maybe they run into somebody and instead of wanting to stack 3 policies to get them 3 $25,000 policies, right, they write them just one single $75,000 fully.
Well, you know, I'm an advocate for that, but
I do.
You know, for the average agent, and especially agents in their first year or two, no. You know, we lost a company I used to use as my go-to. They went down to 10,000 on their fully underwritten, and we lost that. They changed it to 25,000 because of final expense agents writing it
right
for price and didn't know what the hell they were doing, and you know, and that's you know, it's a different animal, and people don't understand it.
I don't. I mean, I'll be the first to say I'm a final expense agent. I don't understand fully underwritten.
And you know, I write a fair amount of fully underwritten, but I know how to write fully underwritten. I was talking to an agent yesterday, and I told him his policy might be graded. After he got to telling me, I said, "Well, that's probably going to be rated." He didn't know what I was talking about.
Right.
What do you mean rated? Like standard from Select? And I said, no, that you're talking final expense there. I said, table 2, table 3, table 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I might as well have been speaking Chinese to him. He shouldn't be writing.
Right.
Fully underwritten. The biggest thing agents run into too is that fully underwritten is not accept, reject. Then you can have yes answers.
Right.
That are still the others. But and you know, every company denies this, but we all know it's true that you gain a reputation with every underwriter at every company. And when you are constantly sending them cases that shouldn't be fully underwritten, you're going to have a hell of a time getting them approved.
Right. Yeah.
And when you're constantly sending them cases that are written properly, and you even write on the agent's report that you estimated a table 2, then you're going to get a lot. You're going to get a lot of those approved once they know that you know what you're doing, and you're not just sending them fully underwritten for price.
Right.
But it's the same way on final expense too. You know, you gain a reputation with underwriters.
Absolutely.
And they look at different agents different. Now, every company will deny that and say it doesn't happen, but you can't find an agent that doesn't know that's true.
Oh, it's absolutely true.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I called one of my old companies before I moved recently, and they would send me my renewal checks in the mail. They wouldn't direct deposit after I terminated my contract there. So, which is cool because I would just get a check for like $800 every month. Like, I don't know, it's mailbox money, right? Well, I forgot when I moved to do that. So I had like 8 checks that were never cashed. So I'm calling them, and I pressed the button for the final expense department, and I hadn't talked to this lady in 2 years. And I said, "Hey, it's Matthew Murray." She goes, "Matthew, where have you been? I haven't seen you in so long." Because I had done so much business and good business with them. They liked me. They remember me from, 2 years ago. But that same company, I know that if you wrote enough bad business and your placement wasn't over a certain percentage, they would terminate your contract. like immediately. Like if you got below, I think it was like 70%, which means if you're every 3 cases you're sending them are getting denied, you know, they don't want to do business with you. You know what I mean?
I know when I first contracted with Monumental, of course, Transamerica now, that's something they said, we expect you to have a 75% placement. I said, well, I expect you to place a hell of a lot more than 75% of my cases. I don't know where you're getting this 75% from, but if you're only placing 75% of what I send you, then we're going to have a problem anyway. And they didn't know what I was talking about, and so, but I wouldn't. I know when to go fully underwritten, but I think as a price buster, no, you've never heard me use the term price buster as something I do.
Right.
Okay. That kind of gets next to me when people call something a price buster. I disagree with that 100%. That means what? You're going to write them somewhere else unless you need to write this company?
Right.
I don't. I just don't think like that. And so you get into that, but no, fully underwritten is certainly not a price buster. And the thing about it is, if you get crossways with the company by sending them a bunch of junk fully underwritten, it's going to affect your final expense business. Even like forgetting that part of it, like even their company trips. Most of the companies we have, you got to have 85% persistency.
Yep.
To go on the trip, and so you don't want to lose that. And I think company I used to use, I think was 80%, which was which is still, but if you don't maintain, at least 80, 85%, companies are going to get, have a problem with you over time. But there's no reason if you're writing. Now I've got some companies that I write a few cases with, and I'm sure my persistency is under 80% with those. I don't care. There's a reason people are using those with companies. That's what I was telling that guy yesterday too. He was talking about I have a real hard time with one company of getting things placed. Almost everything comes back modified that I send to them. But I don't say anything about it.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason they're going to that company.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
If they were in good health, they'd be going to KSKJ.
Right. Kind of.
And so I don't complain about a company like that. Now, if I'm sending a lot of business to a company and we're having problems you issuing it, then we're going to have that discussion. But the secondary companies, like if I remember I had a problem with Settlers one time over a case that they were just giving me a hell of a time about. What happened was it was on an 11-year-old girl, and the dad was the owner. It was a 10-pay, I think, about a year old 10-pay, and but the father and dad passed away. Well, mom wanted to keep the policy. We just couldn't get the damn thing changed to ownership.
Yeah.
And this was like, we're talking $15, $16 a month policy.
Right.
And they just gave us such a hard time and was making, she's got to go into the courthouse and they'll know what she wants. And she goes into the courthouse in her county and tells them, look, the insurance company's wanting this, and they didn't have a clue what they wanted.
Right.
And so I talked to somebody who was supposedly had contacts with them and they were going to get it fixed for me. And they didn't. So I finally replaced it. I wrote her a 10-pay with Trinity Life.
Sometimes it's easier. I mean, it's not what the companies want you to be doing, but like
you tried to keep it there. Yeah, they just wouldn't do it. Yeah.
They called me and threatened me with termination over that case. And I said, hey, go ahead and terminate me. I don't give a shit if I have you or not.
Right.
You know, and then she backed up. She, well, wait a minute, I wasn't really threatening you.
Yeah, no, of course not.
Call it what you want to, but if you feel like you need to terminate me, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to save this damn case, and you know, maybe there's a reason Seller's not in business anymore. You know?
Right.
And,
right. I mean, so many of these companies can't get out of their own way.
Yeah. Who won that deal? You know, they.
If that one piece of business would have stayed on the books, they might have still been here, JD.
Yeah, they had way more problems.
Yeah, but I mean, all joking aside, so I think
that was
another reason.
Problem.
Yeah, I think another reason final expense agents don't write fully underwritten business, and correct me if I'm wrong, to get paid on a fully underwritten case takes a little bit longer than a simplified issue. I mean, it makes sense, but like it could take weeks, right, to get paid on that one case. And most final expense agents live on this advance, and they can't wait a month to get paid.
Yeah, especially if it's an exam. Now, right now, you're talking about COVID on problem. Now, I've had a hell of a time with that. I mean, ones with the exams, examiners don't want to go see people.
That's interesting. Out here, I've had zero. I've probably had. I mean, I don't do a ton of stuff where I need an exam, but I've probably had 4 exams done for clients out here. Maybe it's because the social distancing locked down so hard and so swiftly in Pennsylvania, but there's a whole protocol. Like like the examiners come out wearing masks and gloves, and they like it.
Oh no, we had no problem. No, we had. I had a hell of a time with that. And they would schedule the examiner would schedule and not show up.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I got a couple exams waived just for that reason.
Just because you couldn't. Wow.
Yeah. Hey, look, we're trying to do the exam, and so the company finally said, okay, yeah, in this case, yeah, we'll just waive the exam, which is always good.
Right.
But yeah, that was the only problem. You know, now. Thinking about that I had problems with that, but now that company has also changed the examining company, so it might have been that company, you know.
Sure.
But just people not wanting to go, and I did have one recently that I just wrote. They're current clients, the big clients, 10 years, and we're adding some coverage, and they didn't want me to come to the house. So now we're not seeing anyone. Mm-hmm. And so I did that, you know, mailed them the signature pages and got that. But now I was having a problem with one of them, and I did need to go. They was wanting to do a phone interview with the nurse, and he wasn't real keen on that. And I said, look, I can come by and I'll call with you. No, we don't want to see anybody. And I told him, look, I've been vaccinated, which I have. And so that still didn't sway him. No, we don't. No. But they are current clients. So, but that was, they were, and he's a high risk type guy, but I didn't want to tell him, but almost everybody I see from this leads are high risk. Yeah. And, no, it's been good. I mean, it's been good for business, but I still wish we hadn't had it, you know.
Yeah, no, me too. I agree though. Like I didn't lose. I shouldn't say I lost 3.5 months of production last year, because I didn't really. I was writing business the whole time, but it was just, you know, doing stuff differently, and I couldn't do a face-to-face, and Pennsylvania had the lockdown lasting until the middle of, towards almost the end of June of 2020. You couldn't do for face-to-face stuff, but I mean, I ended up writing as much business as I always do, you know, and I made up for all the lost time without really any hitch, because people want, I don't know. Hey, you're right. It's sad, but it has made people want to talk about final expense more and plan on stuff. And I've had more people tell me in the last 6 months that the reason why they want to talk to me is because they just had to go through somebody else in their life's funeral. and they saw how unprepared that person was. And they either had to set up a GoFundMe or pass the hat at the church, or I mean, just literally yesterday, somebody was I was sitting with a family, and it was a husband and wife and their like 20-year-old kid. And the 20-year-old kid was talking about, the mom was resistant to getting life insurance on herself. And the kid was like, listen, cousin so-and-so just died, and we had to set up that whole GoFundMe page because they didn't have anything in place, and they were younger than you are. And you need to put life insurance in place because I don't want to have to do that. That was embarrassing for their family.
You know, I'm more likely to get more than the concern. And the concern and wanting that is a little more subtle. But I'm more likely to get just an overt objection that this whole thing has been an overreaction.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this. You know, we shouldn't have been doing this. We shouldn't be wearing masks. You know, I'm more likely to get that than I am.
Yeah.
The other. And and it's funny how things change, and it's in your head. If you think so, it's probably going to. And as you know, I take off. I take off the 2 weeks around Christmas and New Year's. I don't necessarily take off. I don't run leads. I don't set appointments or anything. I take business that comes in and do service work. But and we went down to Nashville. Our anniversary is on the 19th of December, and we went down to Nashville with Travis. And we spent a couple of days in Nashville with Travis and around our anniversary, and we're talking. And it was funny. I was telling Travis then that I was feeling a difference. We were talking about, you know, we hadn't had any subjection, but I felt like the first couple of weeks of December, people were feeling more ominous about it. You know, that I feel like January 1st, when I do go back to normal, that I'm going to start getting all these objections now. Because it just feels that, you know, that because, you know, you had so many people too, you know, we're in a deep red state, that this was going away after the election.
Right.
And when it didn't, you know, then it seemed like it just also affected them. Like, wait a minute, you know, this is more serious than we thought.
Right.
And, but it was just all in my head. When I went back out 1st of January, no one said anything still. And,
no.
So it was just, I'm thinking now is more like the Christmas blues, because so many people were upset that they weren't going to be able to have their normal gatherings. And this was a different Christmas.
Yeah.
And I saw a friend yesterday and that always had a huge New Year's Eve party. And we haven't been the last couple of years anyway. And he asked me, what he said, he said, how come you didn't come to our New Year's party? I said, well, I never knew when it was. And so I said, did you have it this year? He said, no, we didn't have it this year. So, you know, things were different. And but it seemed like after the first of the year, everybody's back to normal and everything's fine. And, you know, I'm running into more and more people that's been vaccinated.
Yeah.
And I'm not so, you know, I had the vaccine, glad I did. I'm not sold that the vaccine is all this and it's going to, but I was talking to Travis about that, but that I think it's good for the mindset of the country, even if it's not true.
Yes, exactly. It's that placebo effect. Right? They could have given him a sugar
pill.
Better, you know. Here's a sugar pill. It's a COVID vaccine. Who knows, right? If it, I don't know.
I'd rather take the shot than get the COVID. So
yeah,
I don't want to get it, and you know, it's and we've had a couple friends die from it.
Yeah,
and we've had a few friends that got it and had minor symptoms. Ivy wasn't really minor.
No, yeah, it was minor, except it just never stopped.
Right, and you know, it's so of course we both felt like we had it, but we were never tested. You know, and so. Well, we can talk about COVID all day, guys. What do you want to talk
about? Well, it's funny, JD, last time that you were on a video with us, someone put down in the comments, I don't know if you read it, and they said, well, if you ever have JD on, you need to shut the hell up and just let JD talk, because he's, you know, a master at what you do. It's been a long time. And so I've tried my hardest not to say anything whenever we
got yelled at so much for the last time.
We got yelled at last time you were on. I mean, people were irate that we said anything. And I said, guys, me and Nick tried to address it. We're like, guys, the whole point of the show is to have people just having a conversation. You know, we want to highlight you, JD, and the other guests that we've had on, but it's not like we're not going to talk to you, because that's the whole point. It's just to have a conversation. So
one thing Nick had mentioned to me is something about, and we said we probably should mention it. Nick had said something about, because somebody had said something to him about he was working just like I did.
Yeah.
And Nick knew he wasn't. And he said, you know, I think what Nick said to me, there's a lot of misconceptions about how you work.
Yeah, there are. I mean, and you hear them like, and you know, and so I don't know how many people that watch this know what I mean when I say that, but you're a fairly well-known person in the insurance industry. And one of the things that you're known for back from the days when you were working at EFIS was that, you know, you don't take very many leads. You only take as few leads as they will let you, right? So you're taking like 15 now, right. But I think you've told me that you would take less if you could.
I did 10 for about 6 months.
Yeah. And that you only work 2 days a week.
That's a huge misconception right there. That's why I used to tell Ryan. That's why I used to tell Ryan at Equita. He would say that. You $200,000 a year, you're going to work 2 days a week.
Right.
I said, okay, Ryan, if we're going to say I only work 2 days a week, then my work days are Monday and Wednesday, my appointment setting days.
Right.
Because that's the hard days.
Yeah.
You know, I may be in the field 2 days a week, but you know, that's hardly your days of working, but yeah, so you get that a lot. You know, yeah, the appointment setting days are the worst days for me. You know,
yeah,
running appointments,
that's easy.
Having 6 appointments scheduled and just going out and seeing people, and talking to people that want to see you. You know, that's but the subject that you were talking about with that person had something about. Yeah, I was just doing just like JD. I just got out of there. They weren't interested.
Oh yeah, people tell me all the time, you know that they come in. So one of the things, and this is something that I learned from you also, is you know, you got to have a why. You know, if you don't have a reason why they're there with you, they're not going to buy anything. So you got to get that why, and you've always said that that's something where if you don't get a why, you get out of there, which is totally reasonable. I agree.
Yeah. If I have a secret, I've always told people there's no secrets in this business. Any secrets I got, I stole from somebody else. But if I have a secret, it's that I don't present to uninterested people. You know, yeah. So if you're not, but I made a comment on one of David Duford's videos here recently about that. I forgot what his video was called. I think it was something like, was his presentation too pushy or something? Of course, as you know, people start talking about creating urgency, and I'm get out of here with that crap. You know, right. You're not, you know, and you know, there's a lot of tricks in this business, and I was taught them too. And back in my NAA days, one of the things they said was, and I did it in the beginning, because when you don't know anything, you do what they tell you. And but it was like, how many times, of course you're meeting with working people then, but you know, one of the things was, how many times do you folks go out to eat a month? Well, once a week. How much do you spend? You know, $70, $80, you know. Well, if you could just not go out to eat one time a month, we'll pay for this policy. Well, that stuff works.
Yeah, sure.
It gets it written.
Yeah, it gets stuff issued, right?
It sounds like a good idea when you're there.
Yeah.
Guess what they do next month?
They go out to eat.
They go eat. You know, and So you're not creating urgency and stuff. Maybe uncovering it would be a better word. But you'd read it, work in leads. It's already been uncovered for you.
Yeah.
And you already have your why. I mean, I'm not cold. You might have to do a lot of things different if you were cold calling, cold door knocking. I don't do that. I've never cold door knocked in my life, and I won't.
Don't. It's terrible.
I've never cold called in my life and won't. You asked for me.
Yeah.
and plus, as an appointment setter, that gets weeded out too. The person who were not going to give you a why when you get there, you probably didn't set that appointment.
Right.
Because I don't beg anybody to meet with me either. If you have to beg somebody to meet with you and then you have to beg them to buy and you're going to beg them to keep it, if you don't want this,
no,
it's fine. But I've got exactly what my comment was on Davis, but it was this is a read and react business. And yeah, what some of the comments that some of the people were telling him, were telling David it was too pushy because they said they weren't interested.
Right.
And he proceeded. I already told you that if you try that with me, if I told you I don't want this and you keep pushing, we're going to have a problem,
Right.
And we aren't final expense problem. But what I said was this is a read and react business. And sometimes when that person tells you they're not interested and I don't want what you have, yes, they're serious.
Right.
But then sometimes it's what got rid of the last guy. You have to be able to read which situation that is.
Yeah.
And if you can't read those situations, what I put on this comment was, go ahead and save yourself time, money, and heartache and find a different way to make a living. Because if you cannot read, then you just can't react if you can't read. Right. Now, that's a little different for a new guy. I do tell new agents to go ahead with their presentation, even if they don't get a good solid why.
Yeah.
Because they might have missed it.
Right.
And the thing about it is, even if you don't need practice. And where are you going anyway? You've got an appointment and you're there. And now, if sitting there talking to somebody that's already told you they're not interested is going to make you miss your next appointment, then get up and get out of there. But if you go ahead and practice if you don't. But, I know within the first 5 minutes or less of walking into a home, if I'm going to do this there. And if they're, and also, but I probably know quicker if I'm not.
Right.
And
yeah, absolutely.
When somebody's got you tuned out. And, I got up one time and walked out of a house. The guy fell asleep during my presentation.
Really? That's awesome.
Might still, or died. I don't know.
I don't know. I walked out.
I never heard from him again, but how are you going to deal with somebody falls asleep?
No, that's ridiculous. You can't care more than they do.
And but what I do when I go in, Travis, somebody said that to Travis. It irritates Travis too when people tell him that I did just what JD did. I couldn't sell them. I packed my stuff up and I got out of there in 5 minutes. And Travis asked him, he said, well, what did they have? What were they paying? What was the cash value? I don't know. and Travis said, well, you didn't do what JD did. Right. He would have known exactly everything. He would not have left there and told them he couldn't help them unless he knew he couldn't. And so, you get that dismissive, but, I have to find a why when I get there. And it's rare to not get a why. Like I said, they've already sent in a lead and I've set an appointment with them.
Right. You've gotten a yes from them twice at that point.
Setting my own appointments, I've always told people that's the first step of the sales process anyway. Absolutely. That's why I don't want an appointment setter anyway. part of that. But that is the first. And I've done it so long, I can hear it over the phone, kind of what I'm walking into.
Mhm.
And sometimes you get fooled, of course, but for the most part. And but when I go in, first thing I do is sit down and get a why. Why did you send this in? Why am I here? And once I have a why, then I proceed to address the why. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
And of course, a new agent, they don't know how to address the why either. So sometimes I tell them, you go ahead and practice, because you don't know. And but I don't just walk into people's homes like it seems to be the thought process of some people, and sit down and say, no thanks, I already got this, so I don't need to talk to you. It's okay, goodbye. I don't do that. And if when I sit down with someone, first thing I do, is get, that we find there's 3 reasons, people send in this card, and go through that and have them tell me, and then if they don't tell me and I got to ask, that's never a good sign.
Right.
But then sometimes they'll tell you one of the 3 that you just went over. Of course, you want to say, I just said that.
Right. They weren't really listening to you.
And you already know right then they're not listening.
Right. Right.
And, but when people, when you start giving them reasons, that's, or, if I got something, I stop right there. That's something that I keep telling agents, but they want to move too fast, and you hear it on these interviews. But if I sit down and they say that their reason is they think they're paying too much for what they have, or they want to add, I'm saying, okay, who do you have now? And of course, you want them to say Lincoln Heritage or Senior Life or something like that, or Banker's Life, But I don't care who they say. Just whatever they say, and I write that down because I've already written their name and their age and whether they're a smoker or not on this paper, because that's the only thing I get out is my notepad. And if they say, I'll write under. If they say they have car, I'll write has now. If they say Lincoln Heritage, I'll write Lincoln Heritage. How much are you paying for that? Or how much coverage do you have? Now it's always wrong, but I don't care. That's not the point to argue with that. $10,000, $20,000. I write it down. I write that down. And I say, are you still paying for it? And I word it that way for a reason. But I say, are you still paying for that? Yeah, they take it out of my account. That also tells me whether they're paying from the account or not too. But how much are you paying? $75. I write that down. Now I already know usually when I'm sitting there what they've told me and what this price is.
What they have.
That's not right.
Right.
But I don't care. That's not the time to discuss that. I just write that down. If it's the husband and wife, I do the same thing. And then I move on into my presentation about, what kind of insurance, what we recommend, and why. I do more of an educational process that, between term and whole life. And then when I get into the cost of, I'm not, like I said, and I don't even know about their health yet either. I'm not going to just jump all over that at that point and say, man, you're paying $75 for $10,000 Lincoln Heritage. I can do that for $40. Go get your stuff. Let's get this done.
Better to find out a little bit about the prospect first.
And then I find out they're
promising them stuff. Yeah, right. Turns out they've got HIV. They were just diagnosed last week.
So, it's not the time to discuss that. It's not ripe yet.
Right.
And that's what most agents, it seems to me like they're getting too big a hurry then. And they get off track. But you got to listen to them. I mean, I have a presentation. I don't give them the sheet. Somebody was asking me this week if I still give them my 4 questions. I probably ain't given that to person in quite some time. I know it by heart and the questions. But if they're engaged and asking you, like I never knew that about AARP. I didn't know AARP ended at age 80.
Right.
And I didn't know this, and And if they're engaged and we get into the prices, and if I, then I'm going to say, we're going to get you the best deal in the state of Kentucky or Indiana, wherever I'm happen to be. Based on your age, your health, whether you smoke or not, male or female. And then, if I have to say, now, if I was leading with a company, if I was leading with a Trinity or a Transamerica or somebody that takes a Direct Express card, I would never ask about it. But since I don't lead with the company that takes Direct Express, after I said when, I said, time is now, because I don't collect money. I don't need any money if you, or something you want to go, because that's a big pressure reliever too. Now that you get paid in a bank account local, or do you have that fancy card from the government, But now I don't even say that. If I already know they've got, say, American Memorial, and they tell me they're paying American Memorial $70 a month, I'm not going to ask them about their bank account. I know they don't have their express card.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to enter anything into it that I don't need to. But it all starts with getting the why. Like I said, if I go through the 3 reasons and they tell me, no, none of those, well, what was it? Well, I thought it was I thought it was Meals on Wheels, or I thought it was this, or I thought it was free, or well, it's not. Do you have coverage now? And then sometimes people will shut you off. I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Right.
I don't know you.
Right.
Okay. See you later.
Yeah.
But I'm not just walking into a house and walking out on the first no either. But I do know when a smoke screen ejection is a smoke screen, and I'm sure Nick does. You don't last this long in this business, and 5 years is a long time in this business.
It is.
I used to go to when I was with NAA, they had a monthly meeting. They had a call every week, and but once a month I needed to go to Louisville they had everybody come in to Louisville, which is a 2.5 hour drive for me. And they'd have their meeting once a month, though, that everybody came to. And, I was with them a couple of years. And I went to every meeting, that monthly, because I was on every call, but I went to every meeting. And, there was 40 people at that meeting every month. But, at the end of every 6 months, there was this older gentleman in Louisville that was there all the time. And he and I would go to lunch a lot of times afterwards. He was always a big help to me and a mentor to me. And but we would say, me and you are the only 2 people here. 3 months ago, Yeah. And it was the same every 3 months.
Yep.
There'd be 40 people in there, but me and him. And there was that's just the turnover in this business, and people just. But this is a hard job. This is really not a job that people can train for, and especially final expense, because the market is so different. Everybody wants you to describe the final expense market. Now, if you don't work it, I can't describe it to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it when you see it. It's like what you're talking about, whether music is good. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's good. I know whether I like it or not. And
right.
And you just can't, if you can't read this, if you can't understand this, and there's people I've told, there was an agent in Tennessee, really good agent, earned a ring with FEX. They just hated this business. Hated dealing with the final expense people and stuff. And I finally told him, I said, man, go do something else. And he was a $200,000 producer, but he's miserable.
There's no reason to be I love this job. I like doing this, but I understand that I am the anomaly.
Right.
I see people talking all the time about things like, and you see them from some of these recruiting agencies that are really really in it to recruit. They're not really in it to sell insurance, but you hear people all the time telling stories like, well, I don't want to be in this business. I don't still want to be selling insurance when I'm 65. I kind of do.
I get that a lot. I get that a lot. I don't want to be you.
Right.
Yeah. I don't, I've thought about it a few times and I even talked when FEX first formed. I had a discussion with Travis about maybe being a partner with it, but it just didn't go anywhere. And I thought about it a few times, make it, but it just wouldn't work out. I'm not management material. I'll never be a company man. And I'm proud of that.
Right.
I'm not complaining about that. I'm glad I'll never be a company man.
Yeah.
But the freedom of this job, I had a guy texted me a year ago that why don't you up your leads to 25 or 30 a week and write $400,000 a year. And I just told him, I said, well, I'm glad that opportunity exists for me. If I felt like I wanted to do more, tell Scott, I need more leads. But I value the time of this, and being in charge of my schedule as much as I do the income. Of course, the income has to come first. What difference does it make if you can set your own schedule if you're not making any money?
Right.
Yeah. The homeless guy sitting down at the courthouse can make his own schedule. But the money is great, and but being able to do be in the field 2 days a week. If I could be more if I wanted to. And actually, my scheduling days, I think I told you, I've done less appointment setting in the last year than I ever have in my life. I'll set maybe one appointment now. I'll be on the phone 5 minutes, to set my appointment for the next day. Well, I only set one appointment to get me where I want to go. I pulled out the county. I've decided where I'm going to work that next day. I might just call one person to get me there, and then just door knock the rest of the day. And that's more out of that's just to have more control of your schedule. And it's also a little bit being lazy. But I don't need to make full days. Now, that's what I tell agents, when a new agent, they all want to work like me.
They haven't earned it.
And I tell them, you can't work like I work. You're not going to make it in this business if you work like I work.
Right.
You got to work like I did.
Exactly.
Right.
People want to work like you today, not like you used to work 17 years ago when you first got started. That's exactly right.
They working like that then allows me to work like I work now.
Right.
And they people, I don't know. It's I never thought I'd sell anything. Never wanted to be in sales. If my mom was still alive, she'd tell you, and I can't believe that boy's making a living selling anything. But I had a guy, Amway guy, they're always trying to recruit you, a friend of mine after the plant closed, I got into this because, I had to. And, but another guy got into Amway and did very well. A diamond, is that one of the things they have?
I don't know much about Amway. I have no idea.
Diamond level. I think it was a diamond.
All right.
And he was down in the rough, that's for sure. But he would try to recruit. Now, I don't want to do the multi-level marketing things and all that. And he would say, I said, I don't want to sell. And he'd say, oh, everybody says that. This is, I didn't realize it was a recruiting pitch at the time. I do now, but he would say, Nobody wants to be sold, but everybody wants to buy.
That's,
Now you hear that, for marketers too,
yeah.
Right.
And it's, but life insurance is one of the things that's sold. They are, they're selling the dream with Amway, but they also are selling products. We're not selling products either, other than, nobody wakes up, that is one thing that's true. Nobody wakes up, so I'm going to buy me some life insurance today.
Absolutely not.
And these companies, that's something that Trav and I always talk about too, is that, these companies have such a high opinion of themselves. I like KSKJ. I've been their agent a year twice. Ain't nobody knocking on my door saying, I want to get me some of that KSKJ.
No, of course.
Calling me up and saying, hey, I need me some of that KSKJ or Royal Neighbors or Trinity or something. Nobody has ever asked me by name for any company.
Mm-hmm.
The next, you got life insurance. I got some life insurance rolling around. I got some of that.
So we do have to sell it, and we do have to recommend to these companies for these companies, and so many of them don't get that, and I'm not so many of them. None of them get it.
None of them get it. No, and the only companies that I've ever had people ask me for by name are Colonial Penn.
None of them get that they wouldn't have a job.
No,
if it wasn't for us. Now, I guess maybe there's some of these companies that have a captive, staff companies, they might, but I started my career with American General. They wouldn't exist in either without the agents out there. And and we were having this conversation with a company a couple of weeks ago about that, that look, one of the underwriters or something on a phone interview, it kind of pissed the client off by not taking, they wouldn't accept, I don't know, or I don't remember.
Right.
As an answer. And that's an answer.
Yeah.
If I don't know, I don't know. If I don't remember, I don't remember. And they were badgering this lady, or she felt they were badgering. Maybe if you'd heard the conversation, maybe you might not come to the same conclusion. But the lady felt it. And I was complaining, you just can't do that. You got to accept. And then, I don't think the person was doing anything, out of the way, trying to make them mad. And I said, I don't think they were either. But that person sitting in that office is going to get paid, no matter what happens with the case.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not. So I have more of a vested interest in this than that person does.
Right.
And I said, but that person needs to realize they're not going to get paid if you don't have the means out there.
Right.
And so she says she understood, but do they or not? I don't know. They all just some of the craziest stuff these companies come up with. Like, we just heard one of them is going to have a contest.
Oh God!
To give you free memorial guides. I thought it was a joke at first, but apparently it's not.
No.
April's next month, JD.
Just it almost makes you think. I texted one guy with the company that a good friend of mine there, and I said, "Is that serious? You're gonna have a contest for memorial guides?" And he never has answered me.
It's a bad.
Maybe it was his idea. Yeah, he never texted me back. No. So maybe it was his idea.
Oh God! Well,
it's his
I hope
idea.
Not. It's a company I like a lot, and it is one of the worst ideas I've ever heard.
I did make that mistake complaining about an application once, about the worst application in the business next to Transamerica, and I found out later I was complaining to the guy who designed it. And so that kind of hurt his feelings, I think. But
he needs to hear that.
It is what it is. But
yeah,
this was, but recruiting, and of course Matt recruits now and stuff. It's not all negative. This is a great job.
It's an incredible business, but it takes a lot.
I got into it. I got into it for the wrong, not the wrong reason. It was the only reason, but I didn't want to do it. So man, if I'd have known it could turn out like this, yeah, I'd have been all over. I'd got in it sooner. And that's why I tell these younger guys, with that's in, these guys that are
20s, 30s,
25, 28, 29, 30 years old and are doing this and are doing well at it now, man, you got to.
Yeah, they got it made.
I don't think I'd had the courage at 25 to even do it.
No.
And these guys doing it and doing well. Now the business is going to change on them. It's changed so much. I do tell I don't use much technology, but I tell every one of those guys, and I do, Nick. You don't not use what I'm using. Don't do like I'm doing. Learn this stuff,
right?
Because the day is going to come when it's the only way to do it.
Yeah, e-apps and all that.
I'm hoping to be out of here by the time that happens, but it's but it's going that way, but it will never happen. And I know you should never say never in anything. It will never happen, though, that Final Expense is sold automated and it's sold online or over the phone. It's just not going to happen. It's going to happen more.
Right.
But the model will never be. And the people who think that it's going to be again, do not understand this market.
No, I completely agree.
Now, I'm not saying there's not going to be a section of the market that somebody can sit in their home and sell a ton of Final Expense, because that's happening now.
Sure.
And but there's a place today for the debit agent.
Right.
I know a couple of debit agents that are doing very well.
Yeah.
And that'll never change either. That the person, but it's like on the phone sales. I was telling a lady this week something about she was, the happiest person to see me I think I can remember in a while on the lead, and they easy sale. But she was talking about she'd tried to get it, but she was over the phone and somebody messed her up on it. So I said, never give your information over the phone. Never give your social security number, your banking information to anyone over the telephone. And she said, I know, that's right. I know, don't do that. She said, I'll never do it again. And now if I was a phone agent, I might try to tell them different, but.
Right. You wouldn't like that so much. But
I'm not going to give my information. If somebody calls me, so there's another difference in our market too.
Exactly.
If somebody calls me, I'm not giving them my info for nothing.
Well,
now,
also,
I buy quite a bit online, and I have bought over the phone, but I called them.
Right.
I knew who I was dealing with, and I wanted what they had, so I'll give them my credit card number.
Right. But like when I talk about, when I talk about like direct mail, right? You or Nick or myself in our right mind would never get a piece of mail that says, fill out your information about state regulated final expense programs, go find a pen, write all the information down and walk it back to the mailbox and put your flag up and put it in the mail with all that information on it. Well, that's because we're not final expense clients.
Right.
That is the 1%. They're the 1% of people that think that that's a good idea.
That's the true 1%.
That's the true 1%, right? That's the true 1% that we talk to. So when I go door knock that person and they look at me and they go, I don't remember doing that. I almost laugh at them because there ain't no way. It's impossible. It's like ordering a pizza. If you order pizza and it had sardines and gumballs on it and I delivered this pizza to you and I showed up to your door with the pizza and you go, I didn't order that. I'd go, are you kidding me? Of course you did. You're the 1% of person that would ever do this. Yeah. You're going to take this pizza. And that's how I door knock. That's how I set my appointments with that mindset. And it always works.
Yeah. It's always, I don't remember this. Might as well come on in.
Exactly.
Well, and the people we're dealing with too. And this was even when I was doing mortgage protection. And that's one thing that the older fellow I was telling you about in Louisville, he told me, he sat down and said, look, the people that you're meeting with that are interested, they don't have, he said, you probably got an insurance agent, don't you? I said, yeah, I've been with the same, now I've been with them 35 years, you know, for my property and casualty and everything, you know. He said, well, these people that are interested, they don't have an agent.
Right.
They probably bought their car insurance on one of these TV ads, you know, and things like that. And so you're their agent. And it's a hard, he said, it's a hard sale. And especially if you're talking mortgage protection. For you to go into a home that have an agent and have had an agent for years like you do, because I know you're not going to get a lot of cards like that.
Right.
But the time that you do, you might as well get out of there. He said, because even if they like what you're saying,
they've got the relationship with
they're invested.
They're going to contact that agent.
Yeah.
Yep.
And say, hey, and I'm the same. If I wasn't in this business, I mean, I'm my agent on my life policies, sure, and my wife's. If I wasn't in this business, my life insurance would be with my agent that I've had my car and homes with for 35 years.
Of course.
And it was. I used to have insurance with them, and you know, that's and so that's not who we're talking to, and that's not who we're talking about. And like I said, you gotta understand that. And like I said, so many agents don't want to understand that, but you know, it's talking to people. And I kind of like the final expense market, but even when I was doing mortgage protection, I always had a better rapport with the older clients. And that in mortgage protection, older would be 50 and above, 55 and above.
Right.
Of course, in mortgage protection, you get a ton of leads. 25-year-olds, first home, you know, 25, 30-year-olds. I didn't care. You know, I was saying, well, I was 25 years old. You couldn't sell me life insurance.
No.
You know, you're bulletproof. You're going to live forever. And but I always had a better rapport with the older. And then like now with final expense, you know, of course, work a lot of nights in mortgage protection. You know, work days now. And but you know, they just something that Travis says always resonates, that people want to say they're poor. Our people are poor and maybe not educated and maybe not. And there's a little truth to that they're not just your average that's sending that card in, but they have lived 60, 65, 70 years old. Yeah. They have life experiences and they have a life of learning, and they know whether you're full of shit or not.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
That's good. I like that.
And they, and that's why USC is tough for these young guys too. You know, I told one guy in Pennsylvania, young guy, and some of his problems he's having. I said, man, you're 27 years old. That's part of the problem. You know,
yeah, a little bit. Sometimes.
You're walking into a 65, and I said, some of this stuff, you just got to fake it till you get older.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to dress better. That's how I told him. You don't need to be out there in khakis and polo shirts. You need to dress better. You have to present better. And, you know, Jose's 39 years old now, but looks 25.
Yeah, man, Jose looks like a baby.
And, but Jose gets a haircut every week. He doesn't normally wear glasses. He wears contacts, but when he's working, he wears glasses. He's neat. He's fun, you know, and presents well because, you know, they don't want to talk to some kid,
right?
You know, and that, you know, people say, well, you know, I don't know about that and all that. I say, hey, it's just how it is. You know, if I go into the bank right now, if I'm going to talk about refinancing my house or something, and they send some 21-year-old kid out there to talk to me, I'm going to say, don't you? You know,
right. Don't you have somebody more?
And he might be brilliant.
Right. But send me the good news.
If you got anybody else that I can talk to here,
yeah,
you know, and it's speaking of that, the great career, we paid our house off yesterday.
Hey,
congratulations!
Congratulations!
first time debt free in my entire adult life.
Nice.
Don't know anything, and so.
But you certainly did. You definitely don't owe anybody anything. You didn't even owe it to us to come back on here and do another video. But you thought it not robbery to just really come on here and. Dude, I'm telling you, Nick has an appointment at 5, and I told him, I said, Nick, sorry, brother, you're gonna be late. You're gonna be late, but I'm not going to. Every time that you speak, it's to say something wisdom. I mean, you got some age on you, so you've lived a life and you know things that I, as a 30-year-old, do not know. So I'm not going to interrupt you. So I said, Nick, you're just going to be late. Sorry, brother. So, but we really do appreciate you jumping on here. Yeah, we did start late. That's exactly right.
My own fault.
Yeah. But it's always awesome, JD, to have you on here. You've been a supporter of the show since 50 subscribers, yeah. Right? And now we've got, I think, 1,200, Nick.
That's nuts.
Which is crazy, right?
You guys can start selling advertising now.
No, actually, so crazy enough, even though we have the subscribers, we don't have enough watch time.
Yeah, we don't have enough content. We haven't created
enough content is all it is. So we got to make enough content. And I know this is going to be a good one. This is going to be great. And for those that made it this far, you need to go back and watch this again, because go back and watch the other videos with JD. Every time he talks, it's amazing. It's incredible stuff. That's why you'll see me do this whenever I'm like listening to somebody that I'm really trying to pay attention to. I tilt my head kind of like a dog, and so every time that JD is saying something, I'm like listening like intently. You should listen to this video intently as well, because JD has a lot of wisdom, and he didn't owe it to us to do this video. He wants to teach young people. He wanted to teach us some things today, and so JD, I thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. Anytime.
Seriously. So I hope this video finds everybody well. I hope, let us know what you thought about Jay in the comments. Don't say anything about Kentucky. He'll find you. He'll come knock on your door. But yeah. But let us know what you have in the comments. Let us know if you have any other questions for JD. We might do another follow-up video like we did before. Maybe you can reach out in the comments and answer some of your questions. But Nick, as always,
my favorite ones are like just question and answer stuff.
Yep. Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, they are.
Those are fun.
Post up some questions. Let's see what you got.
Post up some questions. We'll do a follow-up video with JD, and we'll just have a Rolodex questions for him, because he's always ready. So, Nick, always a pleasure, my friend. JD, thanks again, man. Always a pleasure.
All right. Y'all take care.